have a limited number of quantities.
There's only two objects?
Only two objects.
What was the question?
There are three quantities that both objects have in common while they are touching each other. Three quantities, three things that are measurable.
Speed?
Speed is not necessarily the same, especially the way I've drawn it right here. In the same amount of time, B is only traveling that far and A is traveling roughly twice as far. So the speeds are not the same at that point. When they collide, there's a brief moment where they're going to crunch a little bit before they rebound. But speed is not the same for both of them.
What about acceleration?
Acceleration, we know the magnitude of the force is the same, but acceleration, since acceleration is force divided by mass, if the force is the same, acceleration would be the same only if the mass is the same, and the mass is not necessarily the same. So we've eliminated speed and acceleration. Can we eliminate any quantities besides acceleration and speed?
Velocity?
Why can we eliminate that?
Same reason with acceleration and speed, that there's not.
Yeah, if speeds aren't the same, velocity is not going to be the same. Also, the direction's different. Okay, I guess you're not going to announce you're better than everyone else. All right, I'm going to let you cogitate on that. I will be back. I'm just going to let the video run. Be right back.
Yeah, I don't understand. What he's asking. It's not like organized survey. The question is, what are the three things that are the same for both objects? So he said, I think assume that force on each other. What was the other thing? Force equals magnitude, the direction is different, they can't have the same force. You know what I
Everybody. It's not.
The direction. But it says the direction is different, they can't have the same force. So the direction is the same, right? Yeah. Okay, so force is the same, direction is the same.
All right, have you figured out the answer? All right, so what are the other two quantities? If you're nervous about, spoiling the quiz that he's taking, don't worry, they're different topics.
So the first one was exert the same amount of force on each other.
Same amount, yes.
And then if direction is different, they can't have the same force, so direction's the same.
No, I didn't say the forces were the same, I said the magnitude of forces, the amount of force. So, because the direction is not the same. And Maya, what'd you say?
The magnitude was 20 newtons, right?
In this example over here.
So they don't exert the same amount of force on each other. They exert the same amount of magnitude.
Well, amount is magnitude. They don't exert the same force on each other, but they exert the same amount of
Amount of
force.
force.
So, as in this case, the beam exerted 20 newtons on the windshield exerted 20 newtons on the beam. The earth pulls on me with about 220 pounds of force, I pull on the earth with about 220 pounds of force.
What I said before, like the objects don't ever change, I mean, it's the same two objects.
Same two objects.
Yeah.
So
So that's
the,
something that could be the same about the two objects.
so the object itself is not really a quantity.
Okay.
So we established that speed, velocity, and force can't be the same. Acceleration can't be the same. That was the other one. We're down to three more quantities. 4.
The position is not the same.
You're correct. The position is not the same. So we've eliminated position now. So let's see, we've eliminated position, velocity, so not position, velocity, acceleration. Well, mass is not the same. Speed is not the same.
The timing,
And what do you mean by that?
like if you put, like, are you pushing them both at the same time?
I mean, what they care about is while they're touching. You want
The point where they touch.
the point where they touch? Not necessarily. But going back to what Abby said. What were you meaning by timing?
Like if you push them both and they hit at one point,
If A is farther, you have to push it before.
Or it's traveling faster. But I don't care about how it gets there. What I care about is while they're touching.
the time it takes them to move away from each other,
From,
or when they touch,
so they're touching each other for the same amount of time?
then like the time from when it touches to how far away it goes back.
So the time from when they touch to when they separate?
Separate.
So they touch each other for the same amount of time? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, yes, that's it. They touch each other for the same amount of time. That is a quantity that they have in common, time. It is impossible for one object to touch another for a different amount of time than you are touched back. Talking physical touch, not emotional touch.
No.
So, time is the same. So the amount of time that A is touching B is the same amount of time that B touches A. That's the one that's so incredibly obvious, it's usually hard to think of. But I did avoid giving my most obscure clue, or one of my most obscure clues. It was also the name of a Bobby Sherman song. time, we all die sometime, no matter who you are or what you do, we all gotta go, we all gotta die sometime. Really upbeat song from the 70s. Though I did have a student a number of years ago who had actually been to a Bobby Sherman concert, so. He was obviously an older gentleman. So, there's one more thing.
The lake?
Say it again.
I said the lake.
The length,
You just care about what they're touching, right?
you faded off.
I said there we go. I had said the lake, but you talked about what they will touch.
Yeah. Do you wanna combine that, sort of expand on it some? I will put us out of some misery here. If you look at what, from the time they touch to the time they end, if you're looking at the position of an object, position of the object, think of the center of mass. So B was here, A was here when they touched. When they separated, the position of the center of mass moved like that, the position of the center of mass of B moved like that. Their displacement is the same. And then, let that be connected, so the change in position of A is the same as the change in position of B. The positions themselves are not the same, but the change is. If I combine this concept and this concept, the fact that they touch each other for the same amount of time and the magnitude of force is the same but in opposite direction, this leads to the idea of impulse, momentum. This is chapter 6. If I combine the idea of force and displacement, this leads to the idea of work, energy, and chapter 7. So, next Tuesday, we will talk about impulse, momentum, chapter 6. And a good time will be had by all, I'm sure.